everyone. Welcome back to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. Today I have a wonderful guest who has joined us a few years ago. Carlota Rodben, who has become a dear friend, is across me today for a conversation on the future of beauty and wellness. So Carlota and I met when she interviewed me for her first book, Beauty as It Is, and she has since published another book called Beyond Luxury. Carlota is a luxury industry futures and innovation specialist. She began her career at one of the most prestigious luxury houses in the world, where she built and led an innovation team and went on to manage new concepts focused on the future of retail. As I was saying, Carlota is the author of 2 books, Beauty as It Is, where she interviewed so many industry specialists to try and see what their definition of beauty is. And she came to see me and she wanted to have my take on it, and you can read my take on it in her book. And she's recently published a book called Beyond Luxury, which talks about the future of luxury, and that includes the future of beauty, the future of wellness. She's also a consultant to luxury, beauty, hospitality brands and institutions on innovation, transformation, and desirable futures. She integrates technology, innovation, sustainability, and human-centric experiences into her work. Her ultimate ambition is to pioneer a new era of purpose-driven luxury. Carlota, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
I'm always amazed to talking to you. We're friends. We see each other socially. And your brain is a powerhouse. I thought I was brainy and I pushed concepts far, but you're next level. If I take a concept and I make 10 steps with it, Carlota will put 30 steps with it. She's quite incredible. A really amazing woman. Can I just say that you speak French like a French person, Spanish like a Spanish person that you are, English like an American, you lived in the States, and Carlota used to be a ballerina. She has also learned Russian.
That's true. You're making me blush. I know it's not a video podcast, but thank you. It also means so much coming from you. Thank you.
So Carlota, I love to pick your brains, and we have this age gap. You're quite younger than I am. I love having friends of all ages. I have friends in their 80s and I have friends like you in their 20s. I'm hoping to befriend my children's friends as well, because we learn so much from every generation. And whenever we talk, I like to know where things are going, on top of all your latest makeup and fashion advice that you give me, because I don't have a daughter. So I use Carlota as the person who keeps me up to date with the latest things to know about and wear. But I love talking to you to kind of grasp and get a feel of where things are heading. And when it comes to beauty, what is the most significant shift that you see in beauty today?
I think it's a topic that I've been researching for a while. I started off with the book that I interviewed you for and had amazing insights from about how really there's a part of beauty that you ingest, right? And after not only researching about the perceptions of beauty and what beauty means and what it means to feel beautiful, but also researching mega trends and future trends, understanding where we're going when we're talking about beauty. I think one of the biggest things right now is that we're going from the old beauty equals youth to beauty equals vitality. And I think vitality is such an important word and important concept to get our heads around, because we have all been wired to want to look younger. Because when you look younger, you look more beautiful. That's what we've been seeing for years. Even I think, and there's a really good example. I think my mom in COVID stopped dyeing her hair, and now she has complete, almost white hair, and she's only about 52. So that shows now people stop her on the street and tell her that she looks so beautiful. And it's odd because she is a very beautiful woman, but it's shocking for people to see a beautiful woman with white hair and seeing her so vital because so I think my mom's a really interesting person to look at and how people see her, because they see someone that has white hair yet acts so young. So they think she's older than what she really is, but just looks amazing and young. And so I really think this is a new trend coming up, which is, we're going to be living so much longer now. According to the World Health Organization, between 2015 and 2050, the proportion of the world's population aged over 60 will nearly double from 12% to 22%. So this just shows how much more of our population is going to be overaged and today considered older in quotation marks, and really how we will be having to embrace this longevity and vitality, because we're going into a world where so many people will live not only till they're 100, but maybe 120 in the next, 50 years probably. We'll be looking at lifespans that are a lot longer. And so remaining vital and remaining really working on our longevity and living well in all of that time will be very important. And it's a very, I think, Western concept to be proud of living more time. And a lot of people are excited about being able to live more time. Not all, but to be excited about living more, you need to be feeling well, right? And I think this is your area of how to really make people feel the best version of themselves in every stage of life. And imagine how important if we're going to live that much longer, right?
I'm so glad you're saying this, because obviously we haven't spoken before. I'm asking you this question. I didn't realize you were going to answer this. This is exactly what I replied when you asked me. Do you remember when you interviewed me for Beauty as It Is?
Oh my goodness.
I said to you, if you go back in the book, that beauty is vitality.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, for me.
I think you're the one that predicts the future.
Oh my goodness. So I remember when you interviewed me, I had this example in mind. I don't know if it's in the interview, but I'll tell you now. A few years ago, around 2017, I was invited for a weekend in Ireland of hiking. And it was a big house, a big group. I'm an early riser. And that day I was going hiking with my friend and another lady from the party. The three of us were at breakfast. And I'm looking at this woman who's mid-70s, around my parents' age. She is covered in wrinkles. I remember thinking her face is like a parchment paper. And
Wow.
She was so vibrant. And as a result, sexy. Because she was healthy, she had gray hair, beautiful hair. Her skin was lined because she's someone who's very outdoorsy, so she spent a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't lined because of an unhealthy lifestyle. It was lined because of being sporty, outdoorsy, the sea, the sun, hiking, running, all of that. And her eyes, and it's in the eyes that we see someone's vitality.
Absolutely.
You see it in the way the skin sits over the bones. It's not the number of wrinkles. It's how it sits. Is there water retention or not? Are the eyes vibrant? And I remember looking at her thinking, this is how I want to age. I want to give this vibrancy, which is vitality. And a few years later, actually last summer, I was in Morocco. I saw my dad. And my dad, bless him, will never lie to me. If I say, Papa, do you think I've gained a bit of weight? He'll be like, yeah. He's just blunt like that. You get the straight answer. And I looked at him, I'm a mother of two. I'm 45. I looked at him, I said, Papa, do you think I've aged? And he replied to me, don't you worry about that. What you want to do as you grow older is you want to keep all your cognitive abilities and your physical abilities. That's what constitutes beautiful and healthy aging. And touch wood, I'm happy to say that he's now 79 years old. His body functions like the one of a 45-year-old. In fact, when we arrive, he doesn't let us carry the suitcases, bless him.
Wow.
So I don't hurt my back. He forgets. It's very funny. He goes, no, don't carry the suitcases. I don't want you to hurt you. But that's what it is.
Right.
And the way he's achieved this vitality is consistency over time. And I have a joke that as a child, my dad was always sweating because he was either cycling or playing tennis, and we were in Morocco, it was warm. And so my childhood memory is my dad going in the shower because he's sweating from a workout.
I think we have pretty similar dad figures in that sense.
Interesting. So the future of beauty, the shift is people are going towards longevity and vitality and well aging, because we don't want to age like lab rats and be alive but not be able to move. We want to be aging like country mice, running around.
Like country mice. I love that parallel. Not like lab rats. Yeah, and I think that not only have we now gotten into a trajectory of longevity with a big spike on people being interested on how they eat, on how they work out, on how they sleep, right? Big devices like Oura Ring or the Apple Watch or the Whoop or the Fitbit, tracking steps. And, this is a big part of what you do and you preach every day. And this is, the persistence of going through all of this is what really gets you to be that person you want to be in the long run. Consistency.
So with all your research on the future of beauty, of wellness, of all the future trend and luxury, do you believe that health is becoming synonymous with beauty?
Absolutely. I think not only is it becoming synonymous with beauty, but we're starting to optimize ourselves and our health, and we see that as a repercussion then in the way we feel first, and then obviously projects in the way we look. One of the things that we need to really be careful now is that obviously our environments are changing, and throughout the years, so for projecting in some years, there's going to be a lot more, they always say put your sunscreen on, make sure you're eating the right foods, look at the labels, really make sure you're looking at even the labels that you're putting when you wear skincare, when you're wearing makeup. All of these things need to be in our minds, especially because now we really want to make sure that in the long run, we're keeping safe from everything. And not only that, but we're also preventing a lot of stuff. So one of the parts of health is not only what your surrounding is and how it affects you, but also what you ingest. And I think that's one of the topics as well that we talked about when I first interviewed you, which was how do you consume orally, right, your beauty? And it's a lot about, inflammation affects a lot on how you look. I think every time I have sushi at night and then I look at myself in the morning in the mirror, there's always like this puffiness to it, and you automatically feel a little bit less vibrant, less glowy. And this is just like a minor way to understand how actually what you're consuming is looking on your appearance. But now we see also these hyper-educated groups of people, and they're called by some skintellectuals, so intellectuals of skin. And it's really interesting because now things like retinol, vitamin C, collagen, niacinamide, all of these words and ingredients have increased 700% over the past few years in searches. And so really we understand that the consumer is a lot smarter and is a lot more conscious of how it's affecting their health and how they want to affect their skin health, but also their glow, not only with what they eat, but what they put on their face, with what they're putting on their skin in general, because skin is not just your face. Also, what they're ingesting in terms of supplements, which is also a huge topic that has opened up that you're also very much on. And these are things that are now becoming not only for the superintended, but mainstream. Mm-hmm. So It's very interesting to see this kind of health aspect come into the beauty industry and this fusion between health and beauty, which could be referred to as wellness as well. And I think lastly, one of the great things that we're seeing is microbiome, this really big shift towards attention to the microbiome, which people like you also have been talking about it for years. The microbiome we have in our gut, in our skin, in the bacteria in general that live with us, and the bacteria that don't anymore. COVID really hit us and became a big topic, putting a lot of things that we interact with today as in a sterile state. And I mean, it was good when we couldn't get contagious from something like COVID or any other type of bacteria that isn't good for us. But all the good bacteria we've kind of lost, and that's also a problem. And there's a lot of cosmetics like soil cosmetics. So soil is a big trend coming up too. So how does soil help wellness, and how does soil help the skin, and other things as well, on how to ingest and improve the microbiome? So we see a lot of health topics now coming into the beauty realm, and not only for the super sciencey consumer that used to come to have an aspiration to feel a certain way and therefore look a certain way, but also now it's just come up in everywhere. Clients are so smart now, and especially with AI, I think there's just another world that opens up that matches data with health, with beauty as well, to understand exactly what that client needs and what will fill whatever they're looking for.
It's so interesting what you're saying about soil. So the first time I started researching it was when my children were little. They were licking everything. They were licking the floor, the carpet. I remember having insane conversation with my toddler saying, "Stop licking the carpet." And I remember thinking, we're a far cry from the trading floor here. I'm reduced to this kind of conversations. And we were in the countryside in Norfolk, in England, in East Anglia. During the summer, Will was a year and a bit. I'd give him breakfast, I'd dress him nicely. As soon as I'd dress him, he'd go to the garden, and instead of playing with a ball or his little tricycle, he would go straight to the soil, grab it, and like put it in his mouth, over his face, his fingers, everywhere. And I thought to myself, this is insane. I'm not going to keep changing him, because I changed him. I was like, "Oh, darling, you've got water and soil all over. Let's change you." And he would do the same thing again. And I just gave up. I was like, okay, just get muddy and dirty. And me being me, I went and researched it. Why do children lick the floor? Why do they eat dirt? So the reason for that is the microbiome and the immune system. If by the age of 2, children have not ingested teeny-weeny amounts of fecal matter from animals' tummies, a teeny-weeny amount by the age of 2, it was linked to a much higher rate of leukemia in children.
Wow.
Why? Microbiome diversity. Immune system cells reside mainly in the gut. Lack of microbiome diversity can alter the immune system. Immune system alteration can, namely chronic inflammation, can trigger gene expression and the expression of a disease such as cancer.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to beauty, now what I do is I leave soil on my veggies.
I've seen you do that in a couple of...
You've seen me. So
Yeah.
I don't generally bother too much with organic, because organic can be not necessarily organic. It's shipped from another country. You don't know the standards. But when it's organic from a farm, let's say like Dalesford in the UK, you know that it's an ecosystem. You know they're not using chemicals or very little chemicals. So I get my carrots from there, and I don't peel them. So I have a little bit of the soil that's on the carrots. And traditionally, we're not meant to peel the carrots. We're meant to just brush them. I don't peel the carrots when they are from that farm. And I snack on them, because the little bit of soil that's left is prebiotics to feed the probiotics in my gut.
Right.
And of course, that's good for everything, including the skin. But I'm amazed that they're talking about it now.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And even different types of cosmetic brands that are looking into that. And not only, but also different wellness retreats that are in soil. And so different type of spa treatments that are with soil, which is super interesting. Even breathing, they say that even breathing the air of a place where it has just natural soil and grass growing around helps your own body to kind of have those bacteria, those good bacteria.
Well, I guess we know this because when we go in nature, we all feel better.
Absolutely, yeah.
Apart from
our body knows this.
Yeah, our
sure.
body. Apart from hay fever, but now we get hay fever in cities as well. But I guess it's all about common sense, and it's great that they do it in spas. But I think what's more impactful is a daily small exposure and consistency over the long run.
Absolutely, yeah.
So getting closer to things like this,
to nature and to bacteria that is not all bad bacteria. Also, you were talking about immunity in general, and I think a lot of times when our microbiome is not at the right stage or is imbalanced, then that's also when you get a lot of autoimmune diseases that a lot of times, you know best of anyone what this could look like, but a lot of times it's on your skin, and there's things like psoriasis, like eczema, and a lot of other types of diseases that can flourish because we don't have a microbiome that is balanced. And so for me, it's great to see this kind of trend pushing on microbiome in the beauty sectors as well, to this marriage between health and beauty, now calling it wellness, really is where we need to go if we want to reach longevity in a purposeful way, a 360 way.
Absolutely, yes. The immune system will affect people with psoriasis, with eczema, with rosacea, with vitiligo, with alopecia. All of this is linked to immunity. In fact, any condition that is non-communicable, which you cannot catch, will be linked to chronic inflammation and immune system dysregulation. When we look at people and the way they age, there are people like your mom, vibrant, healthy, gray hair. But you have people who will go and do injectables, and you have people who will be skinny in a low body fat in a natural manner, but others in a more artificial manner. Let's say like the people who use injections for weight loss, which by the way is linked.
Ozempic face is a thing.
Right, it ages people and causes severe hair loss as well.
And now a lot of people that have been doing Ozempic it's a trend now. It's the Ozempic face, so people get more injectables because your face changes so quickly and it gets so skinny so quickly that people are not used to seeing their face in that type of way, and so they get more injectables. So it's actually a vicious cycle. You're injecting yourself with Ozempic to get leaner on your face, to recover a little bit of that fat that you lose on your face. That also changes the proportion of how you look, really. I mean, a lot of people it changes the way they look, right?
Yeah, it does. So what I've noticed, I'll give you the lowdown on these injections. From all my research and everything, I think for people who are very overweight, I'm talking 30, 40 kilos, and have not managed to stick to a healthy lifestyle, it shows benefits because it reduces the chances of heart attacks, diabetes, and all of that. Now, I do not believe that they cannot achieve that weight naturally, because I have seen so many people on the platform lose 4 or 5 stones naturally and keep it off. I have one lady in particular, she's probably half the weight she used to be, and she has today more abs than I do, purely naturally on the Eat, Burn, Sleep lifestyle. So it is achievable, I believe, from what I've seen. However, the injectables, so not just Ozempic, you have Wegovy, all these class of drugs, Saxenda, there are a few of them. what they do to people who don't have tons of weight to lose, what I've noticed, is it does this really accelerated aging. They lose their youth. A few months in, they have severe hair loss. I've seen it. Unfortunately, oftentimes they only had maybe 5 kilos, to lose 10, 11, 12 pounds. So they had vitality. They were vibrant. And they lose this vitality we're talking about, which comes when you make healthier choices and you improve your body composition in a natural manner. You tend to look younger. You have more blood flow. You have better collagen. You're uplifted. You are more vibrant and you look better. It's not just the size and not just the body composition, how much fat compared to muscles. Even in your face, you have this vibrancy. Unfortunately, I would really not advise women and men who don't have too much weight to lose to go for those injections. And also, there are all the very documented side effects like cancer of the pancreas and more severe things. And what I've noticed is when people stop, their weight gain is pretty sharp when they don't have that much weight to lose. And I haven't seen any paper showing this. It's my interpretation. I think because they've messed up with the blood sugar regulation, the pancreas and the insulin doesn't do as good a job. And I think they become probably slightly insulin resistant because they took a medication to become more insulin sensitive. Once they stop it, they are less insulin sensitive than they were before.
So you think that probes them to start again?
Yeah, but this is just I haven't looked into studies showing this. This is my instinct and observations, and maybe studies will show that one day. So
interesting.
So what I wanted to know is, we see different types of people in terms of aging. The people who go the natural way, people more artificial way. And you're the person who can predict the future. So I'd love to know, what are the future archetypes of beauty in the next decade? It's time for a little break. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying today's podcast. A reminder to all our listeners to subscribe, rate and share this podcast with your friends and anyone who might enjoy listening to it. We also have a discount code for all our podcast listeners, which I will be sharing at the end. Keep listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. What are the future archetypes of beauty in the next decade?
So I wouldn't say I can predict the future, but with a lot of the trends that we've been seeing, and if we take what is already kind of happening today, I think everyone can find themselves or see themselves reflected in at least one of the 5 archetypes that I've created for 2043, which actually first came out on an article that I wrote in a future magazine called Intense. So it's a magazine basically that is set in 2043. And it's like you take a time travel machine, go to 2043, you buy a magazine, come back today and you read it. So it's set in the present. And I first put these archetypes of beauty there. And basically the 5 that I envisioned for 2043 is first the chronoimmune category. So this category is really focusing on beauty as health and enhancing longevity. So a lot about what we've been talking today. It would be the kind of person that is maybe 100 years old or 90 years old, but looks and acts and most importantly feels like they're 45. And so this is kind of the age aesthetic. And some days ago, I was talking to CC Tam, a very famous futurist, and we were talking about this topic. And she was like, oh, it's kind of like the weather. You know, when the weather says it's like 20 degrees outside, but feels like 30, or the weather is 10, but it feels like -5. So basically, it would be like, yes, statistically and like factually, I'm 80 years old, but really, I feel like I'm 40, right? And that's the vitality. That's where we want to go for. And that, as you said, with your friend that you went on a hike with, even if her face looked like she was older, she acted and felt like she was so vital, and that was sexy. And I love that you said that, because that is the epitome of this category, is no matter age you are, you look and feel like you're younger. And this is kind of like the category that doesn't want to age at all and wants to stay looking the same for a long time. So using all of these ways to optimize their health and their longevity. Then there's the category of wisdom rich, which really value experience and wisdom is a component of their beauty. So again, we'll take the example of your friend. Her wrinkles would actually be the visual representation of that wisdom. So a lot of civilizations today, still in societies like in Asia, really look up to older and more mature people because they have all this wisdom and they have very fond respect for them. It would kind of be going back to this as well. So they would feel still working on different ways to be vital and have a more healthier life and feel good. So a lot of people are like, oh, it's horrible to get to 80. I was actually talking to my grandma yesterday on the phone. She said, you know, it's horrible to be in your 80s because everything always hurts. And because she has a thing on her leg, and I told her, is your leg hurting? She says, not only my leg hurts, a lot of other things hurt too. Just my leg is the one that most hurts, I guess, which is such a shame. You know, how can you live with vitality and excited about life if everything kind of hurts? So it would be getting to that age and to that wisdom, but really feeling younger and feeling, sorry, I said it myself, feeling more vital. You see, this is the unlearning that we need to do. I myself even said it. So this is a category that leaves and embraces their wrinkles and their white hair and the way they look as a way to say, I am wise, but I am vital, right? And so this also, so in this way, you can envision maybe a 30-year-old dating a 70-year-old in the next 25 years, and it be totally normal because they're having conversation. The only difference is that one of them is wiser. And I think I really resonate with what you said at the beginning. You have friends of all ages. I do too. And I think mostly, I mean, especially with, I think this is a great example with you. I think the only thing that separates us is the experience you have in life, right? The rest, I feel like I'm speaking to some, like we're just just friends. Then it's the life experience that I have so much to learn from and to see what you have to say about things. And you've lived a lot longer and have, well, not a lot longer. Let's not. Be careful.
I think I could technically be your mom, right? Technically.
You
but
could.
I learn a lot from you.
Right. It's a exchange. And if both people are vital and inside they have this spark still, then who cares about what you look like if you are still sexy, right? And you have that appeal.
Yeah.
Also, we have to put in there that a lot of it is science backed, and basically it's from our animalistic side in us knows that the one in front is fertile still, and our human animal side knows that it can procreate, and so you're attracted to people that are younger. But maybe that will be muted after a while because now we'll be able to have kids a lot older, and we can already see that there's 47-year-old women that are having kids today, and so maybe that even changes within us.
But that's why, you know, so many okay, let me say this, my kids are going to kill me for it, but I'll say it. I was talking to a friend about this, and I said to her, there's so many more women in their 40s dating men who are younger. And I said to her, I think it's because of the performance of fertility clinics and the fact that women can freeze their eggs. So there is optionality, which was not there 15 years ago. I believe it plays a huge role in that. And
that's
also,
so interesting.
Yeah, I think it plays a huge role. Also, a lot of because before you saw younger women with older men, and that was totally
Right.
acceptable because the man was fertile and the woman as well. But because now women can be fertile longer, you're starting to see it
Seeing
the
the
other way
reverse.
as well. Yes.
So interesting. So interesting. And actually, I've had a lot of men tell me in the past years to not to make sure I don't forget to freeze my eggs,
You see?
which is very interesting because they're in situations now where they're with women that they wish they could have frozen their eggs because they choose to have kids later, and if you don't, it's a little bit harder, but not impossible. So then going to the third one, the third archetype, they're the techno mergers. So here we're going a little bit more sci-fi-esque. So it would be humans that decide to merge with technology, and maybe where I'll give a tangible example. Maybe people with arthritis could wear a sticker on top of their hand that would help them move their hand with more ease and maybe help them get a little boost, right? So we can think about like robot kind of fused with the human. We could be really helping our cognitive work faster. Or, I mean, we see it already with Aura Rings and us being able to monitor what we do and make it better. But this would actually help us push one step further and not only monitor, but also enhance. And so this is another era where people will decide to merge with technology.
So you mean for example, we have pacemakers today. I have a titanium plate and screws in my ankle after I broke it. So now it's used by medicine for purposes, or when you get a knee replacement, because but the way you see it is going into beauty, not just primary healthcare.
Exactly. So imagine a wearable that you can put on your head that looks like a great like decorative crown, and that crown can help have better cognitive abilities, or tattoos that allow you to have bioluminescence, and so when you go in the dark those tattoos can light up. Just looking at things not only as an expression of helping you feel better in your health, but also as an expression of purely wanting to look a certain way as well.
Interesting.
So that's the techno mergers. Then the fourth one is nature connectors. So
Is what?
Nature connectors.
Nature connectors.
So this is really the group that wants to stay and really emphasizes their strong connection with nature, and that their beauty is truly linked to nature. So I think we can go back to what we were talking about in the soil. So really, maybe this is the group also that says, no, thank you. I don't want to live until I'm 120. And I would like to go when I'm 85 or 90, which is what happens today. And so people that really want to go towards the most natural avenue, and maybe everything. I mean, we see this group of people today living, right? It's very much the people that want to do everything natural, naturopaths. And this would just be pushed to another extreme. That would be even more extreme because the other archetypes will push more towards their extremes. So being completely natural will be even more of a distinct way of choosing to live life. And then lastly would be the augmented tribal, which is a kind of archetype that really focuses on their identity and their sense of belonging with the communities they are in. And so the word tribal in there and augmented would be that they would come back to these tribal behaviors and senses that we used to see in tribes, or we still see in tribes today. Sometimes they have different paint on their bodies. Sometimes they do different symbols on their bodies, or have different types of jewelry that mean certain things, or colors. And so this group would decide maybe And I'm going to go a little bit extreme here, but today we see a lot of people adding injectables and doing different things to their bodies, removing a part of your rib to look a certain way or whatever. But this would be to add on certain aspects. So maybe we could go as light as a tattoo, but as strong as maybe adding wings, being able to add certain types of features that are more sci-fi-esque to your body. Which also allows you, or would allow this group to identify with a group of people that maybe, in the future will probably have a lot less ties to where we're from because of globalization. We'll feel like we're a little bit from everywhere. And so communities will really have that strength. And either it is that they want to add something to their body or basically just want to live a certain way. This tribal augmented will be using the way they look to also identify and have a sense of belonging with their communities.
Interesting. So we come from somewhere, we get lost because of globalization, and then we choose a tribe and add on something physically to identify ourselves to that tribe.
Exactly.
Interesting. That's interesting. That could happen. I could see that happening.
It's a little bit out there, but
it's out
we'll
there,
see.
but when people go to places like Burning Man, this is what
Absolutely,
they're doing.
Yeah.
They call it a tribe. They have these costumes.
And there's a big attractiveness towards this, I think, for people that are searching for something. And today, there's a lot of soul searching out there because we're so stimulated in every sense that sometimes it's confusing to even understand where you stand, what you want, and these types of communities allow you to have a better sense of where you stand or help you there. So these are the 5 archetypes I talk about, and hopefully I'm working on something that will hopefully be turned into an entertainment platform for this. So
tell us more.
I'm currently working on writing a screenplay for a TV show on this topic. So we'll see what happens. Never done this before, but I had never written a book before I wrote my first one. So, why not? And yeah, so we'll see. But I think this is a very interesting way to also see. And I wonder what you think about it, because when I talk about it with a lot of people, they do feel like they can reflect or see themselves in one of the 5 archetypes. And my goal my goal with this article that I first wrote and then was read by someone that proposed for me to write a screenplay and what I would like for it, if it ever becomes a TV show, is that when people see it, they ask questions and they feel challenged with themselves of, why do I perceive that as beauty, or why do I want to go there? And challenge, if I do want to go there, to be sure that you have a reason why, and not just because you feel forced to. Like, there's a lot of people today getting injections that do it because they see it on social media and they've seen it so many times that then you see it as normal, and so making sure that we ask ourselves the right questions, not just because I want to look younger, not just because I want to look like X, Y, or Z, but what does it mean to you? Because beauty is so linked to our confidence, to how we project ourselves with other people, to the energy we give, and to how we just perform in our everyday lives. So for me, I think this is the power of beauty. It's not only about the way you look and what you aspire to look like, but the way you feel and you make other people feel around you. And it's like a magic power, it's like a secret weapon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know how I want to age.
Let's hear it.
I want to keep my dad said this to me, is like, focus on keeping your cognitive and physical abilities as long as you can. So I want to focus on that. I don't want to grow extremely old because I don't want to be losing too many of my contemporaries. And my friends who are older, late 80s, they suffer from that. They lose their friends, or their friends have Alzheimer's, and inflammatory conditions are on the rise. So all these things are unfortunately skyrocketing. So I'm hoping to always fit in the same clothes, to be able to exercise every day. to have my cognitive functions, to be a wonderful grandmother, and do for my grandkids what I'm doing for my kids and baking. And my children are like, you're not going to be making them paleo brownies. We had this conversation.
I love that this is a conversation you've already had with them.
And most importantly, like everyone, I've had my share of traumas. Some people have more trauma, some people less, it's inherited, generational. And I've tried my best I've made many mistakes like everyone in their lives, but I've tried my best to improve and have a positive impact through my work. And I want to continue doing that, whether it's through work or with the people I influence in my life. So I want to continue doing this internal work by becoming a healthier person, conquering my 2 autoimmune conditions. I have not only helped myself, but then I created Eat, Burn, Sleep, and I'm helping thousands of people around the world. So I want to continue doing this work, but also at a mental, spiritual level. That is very important for me. So for me, time is not about aging. It's about experience. And I always look back and think, oh my God, I've come such a long way. This is much better. I have dealt with that. I have forgiven that. I have let go of that. I'm more perceptive. I'm better with emotional intelligence. This is how I benchmark my aging. It's not about, yeah.
I love
I want
that,
to continue
and I also
doing that.
think that that's you saying it like this. It's everything you said. It's exactly what I truly am inspired by you every day. It's this kind of work that you do outwardly and inwardly. You work on yourself to then work on others, which is so inspiring to see how many people you touch. And every time I see when people stop you on the street and you do a story and have them tell you why the platform has impacted them, or all of these people that are giving reviews of how it's helped them, it's incredible to not only see how much you've helped them, but how you react to that. And it just gives you more motivation to do more. And it's like you just don't get enough of it. And I think that's the beauty of living, which is, as you stated at the beginning, we've done a lot of things together, and that's one of the things I most seriously admire about you, is the way you experience life. So admirable. And it's like a journey of learning and of inspiring yourself and others at the same time. So I love that way of aging.
Well, I think if people stop looking at time as the clock is ticking, and every time we're losing a minute, it's a negative. Because that's how it is right now.
Right.
Oh my God, I'm aging. Oh my God. But it's not, you're not losing. Yes, time is going, but you're gaining so much. You're gaining memories, happy moments. We've just had a wonderful time here doing this podcast, and that's a much more positive approach to time passing.
Right. It's actually time invested.
Yes, an experience. I always say I'm the same person as when I was 16, but just with more experience.
I love that. And it's true.
Thank you so much, Carlota, for having joined us today. I really enjoyed our conversation, as always.
Thank you for having me.
To all our listeners, I'll be linking Carlota's book, Beyond Luxury. I'll be linking her podcast. She has a podcast now. And I look forward, hopefully, to seeing that TV series when it comes out. So thanks for revealing that to us.
I hope. Now that I've said it, I have to manifest it into creation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you for listening to this podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's always such a pleasure to talk about health, because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Looking after our health is a daily thing, just like brushing our teeth. We've got to focus on it, we've got to do it right so we can live better and happier lives. For those of you who are not members of the platform yet, we have a discount code for all our podcast listeners. You can get 15% off the memberships just enter the code podcast15 at checkout. Thank you, and make sure to read all the articles and all the free content we have on eatburnsleep.com to keep you motivated and informed and educated about living an anti-inflammatory lifestyle.